What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Now, welcome back to my public YouTube channel. What exactly am I going to be speaking about in today's video? This is going to be a very deep topic, and this is something that is actually extremely ancient, yet in our modern time has been forgotten. I'm going to be speaking about the real pattern, the real order of the archetypal paths on the Kabbalistic tree, specifically focusing on two paths, which are very prominent paths, and some of the first paths that show up on the Kabbalistic tree. So in other words, I'm going to be talking about another little inversion that has shown up in mainstream modern Kabbalah. And I'm going to be speaking on more so of the ancient roots of what it is that we need and what we really want to understand, okay? If this is something that interests you and you feel like you'll gain some sort of value from listening to the rest of this video, then you simply have one thing to do, and that is to stay tuned. All right, so let me go into it. So first, let me explain who I am, just so that you know who you're getting this information from. My name is Jeremiah Schwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck, and I'm also studied when it comes to planetary energies in direct association with astrology. Now, with all that being said, we can move right on into our subject at hand here. So we're talking about a little bit of an inversion within the Kabbalistic tree. And for those of you that understand the Kabbalistic tree, you should know by now that it is a very deep form of spiritual self-development. In other words, we call it occult initiation. It's hidden initiation. It's basically like supernatural, super deep, unconscious growth. So on the Kabbalistic tree, we have the first archetypal path, which is represented as the Fool. And let me actually just say this first. So every single one of these paths on the Kabbalistic tree is structured and positioned very intentionally. They're not random placements. They have a very significant meaning, and they're meant to be looked at in a certain form of like an order. Okay, this is where you get the term occult orders. You know, like temples that call themselves orders. It's because they have a structured form of growth, a structured form of spiritual self-development that is based on these archetypal pathways and the order that they go in as they're connecting to the spheres on the tree of life. So once again, this order is very significant, and it's in its placement because it's basically taking you from the beginning and getting you to an end point. Now, even though I say a beginning and an end point, the journey is always infinite, but we can think of it like the beginning of a cycle, then the end of a cycle. And then once you get to the end of a cycle, there always is going to be a new beginning, like a new cycle will be born. So once again, the 22 major archetypes, major arcana of the tarot deck, which are these pathways, they are structured in a certain sequence to give you the beginning of a cycle and then take you to the end of that cycle. And then a new one starts, and then you enter, you could think of it like a new tree of life experience, okay? So the first archetypal path on this Kabbalistic tree is the archetype of the Fool. This is going to be the concept of like the jester, the Joker, okay? So like if you've ever seen the movie Batman, the Joker, that would be a representation of the archetype of the Fool. Now, the Fool archetype is the essence of stepping into the unknown without making any mental judgments or trying to even have a mental plan before you step out into the unknown. It's significant of listening to the intuition, which tells you to step out of what you're comfortable with, trusting that the universe will give you the steps that you need to take, and ultimately trusting that the universe will nurture you in that process. Trusting that you will be protected, trusting that once again, everything you're going to need to survive will be given to you. That's the essence of the archetype of the Fool. That's why the Fool dances on the edge of the cliff, and he doesn't care, because he knows that he's protected. He knows either one, he's not going to fall off, or two, if he does fall off, the universe will swoop him up, make him grow wings, send a cloud down to make sure he doesn't hit the ground. That's just the energy of the Fool. He just knows he's nurtured by the universe. And it's a deep unconscious awareness to have that you can be conscious of, but oftentimes it takes a lot of integrating to become conscious of this principle I'm describing right now. But really, the universe does protect, and the universe does nurture those that step out into their, step out of the zone of comfortability if their intuition is saying that they need to move in that direction. So once again, stepping into the unknown, trusting that there's something very beneficial that will come from it, even though you may be completely terrified, but you're also having to trust the process and just trust that things will work out, even if you don't know how, even if you have no plan. It's just taking the step. That is the archetype of the Fool. Now, on the Kabbalistic tree, the second archetypal path is going to be the archetype of the Magician. Okay, the Magician is typically represented as the mind. This is the realization that your mind can create and actually does create reality. So the mind and what it's focused on, the mind and what it thinks most often, this is literally the reality that it is that you're producing. So yes, the mentality, the belief system, the mindset that someone has is extremely influential to what it is that they are manifesting on a daily basis. So that would be the second archetype in the Kabbalistic tree, once again represented as the Magician, which is the essence of you being the source of your creations. So you are the magician of your life right now. So everything you're experiencing, everything that you see right now in your current life, whether it's positive or negative, you're the source of it because you are the magician of your creation. So take a nice look at what you have and then really do a little bit of self-reflecting and say, wow, why did I create this? Or I'm happy I created this. I don't know what that energy will be for you, but I'm sure for a lot of you, it'll be like, wow, if I'm the source of my creation, then why am I creating this shitty results? Or why am I creating this unfortunate thing over and over again? This is what is important to understand. This is where the inversion took place within the Kabbalistic tree. So most of you know, as you study my channel, there's a lot of inversions on the Kabbalistic tree. And what I basically mean by these inversions is there's a lot of intentional placements of certain types of symbolism within Kabbalah that are meant to sort of mislead, that are meant to sort of cross boundaries within the deep primal unconscious. So what does that mean? It means like on a soul level, as souls, right? You listening to this as a soul, me explaining it as a soul, we understand certain things. Like our souls are in touch with cosmic laws. We don't have to do much to be in alignment with that. We actually don't have to do anything. We naturally are always in touch with cosmic law. It's just there's a certain portion of our own being, our consciousness, within our own consciousness, that likes to distract from our soul, which then separates us from being in alignment with these cosmic laws and these cosmic patterns, which we naturally already are and are operating under. And when I'm bringing up the concept of these inversions that take place in the Kabbalistic tree, it's because this system is so ancient, the Kabbalah. It dates way farther back than just the Jewish religious tradition. It goes into Egypt, and it goes to Atlantis. It goes so far back. And so many other cultures have adopted this fundamental structure of awareness around the tree of life. The tree of Yggdrasil, the tree that Buddha died under, all kinds of trees in different cultures and religions. It's the same concept. So it's very ancient, it's very powerful. And with that, the people that get their hands on this system are going to have a lot more, let's say, capability to develop and fully understand themselves. And naturally, whenever someone does that, they are stepping into power. And when someone steps into power, they can no longer be controlled. They cannot be placed into a matrix and be governed or be controlled. They don't have rules that they have to follow anymore. So when it comes to certain people on this planet that like to give rules and like to give orders and like to put people in boxes, obviously, if everyone was free-minded and everyone was able to understand the purest form of truth or the purest form of cosmic laws, then there would be no boxes to put anyone in. So everyone would just be powerful and everyone would be free. And that's actually not even a reality. The universe can't operate in that way as of right now where this planetary sphere is. So everything is happening the way it's supposed to, but I'm just explaining what's going on with the inversions that show up on the tree. Once again, they're strategically placed so that people don't fully understand what the message is behind it. So what I mean is their soul resonates with one thing, but what they're learning mentally from the tree is telling them a different thing. So let me explain a little more in depth of what I'm talking about in connection to this video. So as I said, the second archetype on this tree is the archetype of the magician, which represented the mind, represents you're the source of your reality. But there's a little bit of a mistake there, an intentional mistake, because the second archetype on the tree should not be the magician, okay? The second archetype should be the high priestess. Now, in traditional Kabbalah, the high priestess is the third archetype, but in the more ancient form, the more sacred form, it should be the high priestess as the second major arcana. And one of the reasons why that is because simply, in order to understand the nature of the mind, you have to understand what governs the mind. You have to understand what's behind the mind, which goes into the unconscious realm, which goes into what you don't know. So how could you focus on something and how could you be in control of your manifestations if there's something in your unconscious that is affecting you, that is producing you to manifest things that you don't want in your life? So this comes down to that concept of being able to manipulate the unconscious so that people live in a state of chasing their tails their whole life. It's the same thing like when you have a traumatic experience in your life at a very early age, that trauma in the way that you handle it, the way that you learned how to process it at the time that you received it, determines your characteristics and determines your cyclical patterns that you're holding on to right now in this moment. So you may be like 30 years old right now listening to this and you're still behaving in a similar cycle over and over and over again, just in different ways from something you picked up when you were 10. And the reason why is because that trauma that you went through shocked your system so much and you didn't have the right capacity or you didn't have the right tools to really know how to heal it and how to process it. So it stayed in your body. And what it means is it freezes in your unconscious and it starts controlling you unconsciously. And that's why you find yourself in these cycles that you know are not good for you, that you know you don't want to do, yet you don't know why you can't stop doing them. So this is very common with the pattern of addiction. It's very common with finding yourself getting into relationships that are toxic over and over and over again. It's like you keep finding yourself getting with a partner that's not meant for you. And if you actually pay attention, the type of partner you keep getting with is similar. Like the archetype of your partner is similar. If you actually, once again, look at your life, it's like, why am I always getting with this type of person? Huh. Strange. Once again, it comes down to unconscious energy that you haven't processed yet. So the essence of the high priestess is the essence of the feeling and the essence of the processing. It's generally an intuitive healing energy. So what this literally means is like before the magician, before the mind, we have to just remember at the soul level, we are the source. The source exists obviously in our universe and it governs all other universes. It is the all, it's the nothingness at the same time. And that same source runs through everything living. So everything has the essence of the source in it to the point where you could say you are the source. as you're listening to this, you are the source. It is in you. Now, obviously, certain levels of awareness allow you to access that source energy. So the person that doesn't know they're the source is going to be a lot less powerful than the person that does know they are the source. But the general message is we are all the source regardless. So when you really understand that, and you understand you have a soul, and you also understand that you're a human being in this incarnation that has emotions and has a mind, you realize that just by naturally feeling your emotions based on what it is that you're going through, what it is that you're experiencing. So if you're, let's say you're going through a breakup and your partner breaks up with you, the human thing to do, the source thing to do in that moment is to feel the emotion that is behind getting broken up with. So that's going to be sadness, most likely. It's going to be anger, probably. It's going to be, maybe there's different forms of resentment. Maybe it's confusion. More so, I would say sadness and anger, and then there would probably be a little bit of depression. And feeling that emotion, once the relationship ended, once you were broken up with, that is how you're processing the experience. That's how you're healing and you're integrating the lesson that you learned from being in that relationship in the first place. Because there was a reason why you were in the relationship. It was teaching you something. But the fact that the relationship is now ending, or it's come to its end, means that lesson is now over. It's been learned. And part of the real learning of the lesson is the integration process of feeling the emotions, the real, true emotions that are behind it. So as I said, someone breaks up with you, you feel the pain. You feel it. That's all you have to do. And guess what? It's crazy that I have to speak about this. And it's crazy that I have to break it down in this way when this is just a natural response that we all have. We all naturally feel, but once again, we're living in a society that is training us and is indoctrinating us to not feel our emotions, but to override it with thinking. So this is where the big inversion came into play with the Kabbalistic tree, where they had the magician at the second archetype, when really it should be the high priestess. And then it should be the magician, because the magician is the mind. That's the part that likes to go through that same scenario of getting broken up with. And then the magician says, oh, well, I'm going to be better. I'm going to outshine them. I'm going to be better than them. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to show them they messed up for breaking up with me. I'm going to go talk to this other person so that they can get jealous. This is all the mind, because the mind is what's creating the stories. And when you're doing this, even if it was positive, right? Even if the mind was like after a breakup, even if your mind says, oh, I'm going to go work out. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get so much stronger. I'm going to show them that I can rebound from this. I'm going to be my best self now. I'm going to cut off all my bad habits now. It's like, even if your mind is doing something positive, the problem is that we're using the magician, we're using the mind to override the emotion. So the source energy here and the real healing that needs to take place is through the archetype of the high priestess, which first feels the true emotion, which is sadness, anger, resentment, depression, isolation, confusion, shock. You feel that emotion, you feel those emotions, and as you're feeling them, you're healing them. You're sitting with them, you're allowing yourself to be a human being that has emotions. This is the high priestess archetype. And then as you're integrating the lessons through the somatic aspect of the body by feeling them, now you can start using the mind, you can start using the archetype of the magician to redirect where it is that you're going, or to even give a story to what it is that took place. So you can kind of make sense out of the relationship. So at this point, because you've done the first work of the high priestess and you were feeling, now you're in alignment. So what I'm basically saying is the magician, the mind, is in alignment with the high priestess, the soul, because you felt the emotions first and you processed them and you integrated them. And you will also intuitively know when that feeling process needs to happen and how long it needs to go on for. And then once it integrates, then the mind comes online even stronger. And then you start saying, okay, now I'm going to do these things. Okay, I see what came out of that relationship. I see what it taught me. I see the story that was behind it. Wow, we were together and I learned this lesson and it taught me something about myself that I didn't even know when I was in the relationship. Okay, so now that I've learned that lesson, what can I do to better myself? What can I do to work on it? And you're in a much more grounded space. You're in a much more balanced space because you've embraced the high priestess first. You felt the emotion first. So we went from the fool, the first archetype, stepping into the unknown, being intuitive, relying on the universe to support you, trusting that you are that support, trusting that you are the universe too. Then the second major arcana should be the high priestess, which is preparing you to feel all your emotions through this journey that you're embarking on. Because you're going to come across adversary. You're going to come across challengers. You're going to come across situations that are catalytic to your direction. They're going to try to hinder you as an act of healthy resistance. And if you don't have the proper system in place to understand how to feel and heal through this journey, the only thing you're really going to be doing in the long run is further traumatizing yourself, is further dumping energy into your unconscious and freezing scary situations into your nervous system. And guess how that's going to manifest later down the road? As you're embarking on this spiritual occult journey, you're going to be that weird person who talks about spirits as if everyone else completely understands what you're saying. You're going to be that weird person that talks about love and light and balancing your chakras, yet you're probably you're about 50, 60 pounds overweight. Your hair is balding and you haven't bathed yourself in probably a month. Okay? It's like, this is how that manifests. This is a result of people that we're not actually feeling and we're not healing through the journey, because the entire process of occult initiation, outside of all the flashy lights, outside of, I'm going to gain power, I'm going to rule the world, it really is about self-healing, first and foremost. No matter what path you're on, whether you're black magician, whether you're white magician, it's all about self-healing. And then from there, you come from a much more grounded position to know what your purpose is. Because as I said, the purpose is the soul. The soul is in alignment already, like on default, with cosmic law, with the source. So you don't even have to do anything to follow your purpose. You just have to be. The only thing that stops you from living your highest potential, and the only thing that stops you from being in alignment with your soul's purpose, is what you put in front of it. It's what you're creating in front of that. Your soul's got this natural magnetic pull in one direction, but the mind likes to create these stories that move in a completely different direction. And this is where the trouble comes. So when we look at the Kabbalistic tree and we see that the second major arcana is the magician, that's an inversion. That's an intentional inversion so that people identify. Because if you know the Kabbalistic tree, the way it goes is from the fool all the way down to the bottom. It ends at the world archetype. So it starts at the top with the fool and then ends at the world. So as you go down, it's the path. So it should go fool, high priestess, then magician. Okay? Fool, the feminine universe. High priestess, the unconscious, the emotional body, feeling. The magician, the mind. Your mind is the source of your reality. So only until you've integrated and you understand the high priestess archetype is when you'll be able to take control of the magician, is when you'll be able to become the magician and actually know what it is that you're manifesting. Otherwise, everything you're manifesting, or most of the things you're going to be manifesting, are going to be unconscious manifestations, and your life is probably going to be pretty shitty, probably pretty mediocre, because because you're not becoming aware of what you're unaware of. And the reason why is because you're not feeling. And it's hard. It's not easy. That's why most people you interact with on our planet today are completely gone, completely separated from their souls. They're separated from the high priestess. They're separated from the feminine aspects of their own energetic being, which is literally the essence of this universe we're existing in. It's a feminine universe. So if you're separated from those feminine aspects within your own energetic being, that means you are cutting yourself off from the awareness of your cosmic connection, your source connection. And the only reason why you're cut off from it is because you're doing it to yourself. Now, yes, there may be some influence behind why you're being promoted to do that to yourself, but that's the universe we live in. This is the planetary sphere we're on right now. And at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to regulate your own emotions, to understand your own emotions, to acknowledge they exist, and to simply feel them. Being a human being with an emotional body existing, allowing yourself to feel it on a daily basis. A little walk through nature could be an amazing practice. Touching a tree and feeling the tree. Hearing the birds. Observing whatever it is that you're observing in your environment, and just observing and being, recognizing this environment is also you, and you are also the environment. And that alone in itself is so healing, okay? So I think that's enough. I think I said enough. If this was a video that you feel like offered you value, then definitely make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Also hit the notification bell, because I would like for you to get notified whenever I post these videos, because when I'm making content like this, it's very beneficial, and you don't want to do yourself that disservice and not be notified when I post a video that you need to hear. So go ahead and hit the bell. Now also make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, because by subscribing, you are further linking into the content. So there really is an energetic component that goes behind that. You are going to further energetically link in, connect from me to you, so that you can get more value from what I'm communicating. Now also, go ahead and drop down in the comment section and let me know if this was something that you resonated with on that soul level. Let me know if you're actually following what I'm talking about, because remember, most people do not know what I'm explaining. Most people don't know these very simple inversions that are taking place in modern religions, traditional Kabbalah, and all other types of places on our planet. This is intuitive stuff. It's not like a lot of people ask me, where did you learn this? Who told you this? What book did you read to get this information? A lot of this is intuitive. Okay, I'll be quite honest with you. A lot of this is intuitive, and these inversions are intuitive, which means on that soul level, we know something's off. But our minds can be so powerful that we like to sometimes identify with the artificial side of things. And then that gets us in trouble, okay? So once again, go in the comment section. Let me know if you're following what it is that I'm relaying. Now also, if you want to gain access to my Patreon, you definitely can. It's the first link in my YouTube description. You can't miss it, okay? On my Patreon, it's an entire grouping of occult videos that you're not getting on my public channel. And this content is more advanced and it's more personal than what you're getting right here, okay? Tier 2 gives you access to an entire magic training course, which I feel like would be extremely valuable, especially if you're a beginner occultist and you're looking for a foundational place to start. Check it out. Tier number 3 is the most popular tier of the Patreon, and that speaks for itself. This is the Universe.B Vampire Service. So what this is this is a service that I perform on the 29th of every single month that has one, and it's designed to completely change your energetic structure to be more so Universe.B dominant, more so dark feminine oriented. It gives you an ability to exist within the darker energy areas of our multiverse without inherently getting harmed by them, but rather being able to transmute them into your own power and evolutionary potential, because it's giving you an ability to feel and process. It's giving you an ability to be more so receptive, listening to understand, pulling in, more magnetic. So if this is something that you want to take advantage of, once again, that would be tier number 3 of the Patreon. Then as we move into tier number 4, this is the top tier of the Patreon. This tier gives you access to everything from the previous tiers, but you also get additional content, which is psychic predictions on a monthly basis. So according to your own personal zodiac sign, I will pull a card for you, tarot, and then an oracle, and I will give you some predictions based on the archetypal influences that you can expect in that month. All right, so if you're interested, check it out. All of this is that first link in the YouTube description. We'll leave it there. I would like to give a special shout out to everyone specifically who is a Patreon member for taking your knowledge, your practices, and your studies to that other side. Big shout out to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we move into the second link below, you can't miss it. This is where you can book a one-on-one call with me. So if you've been gaining value from any of the content that I've been releasing, if you've been studying my content for a while, and you have questions, then I would highly recommend booking a one-on-one call with me because it could offer you a lot of value. There's a lot of things that I've experienced and a lot of things that I have an ability to teach. So once again, if that's something you resonate with, definitely consider it. In that second link, you can book a one-on-one call. Now, if you're taking your practice to an even deeper degree, I have a mentorship option. So this is going to be a 6-week mentorship. And then for other people that are wanting to go longer, I have a 3-month mentorship. This is going to be amazing for those of you that are really trying to get themselves into any form of occult initiation. And what I've found is that these mentorships literally turn exactly into that. They turn into different forms of initiation because that's just how powerful the energy body is. So for example, when someone's on a call with me consistently and they're intending for themselves, they want to go through some deep transformation, spiritually speaking, since I am an initiate of the Kabbalistic tree, and since I've been very experienced with it, I have an ability through energetic transference to transfer my energy field into that person, into my client, so that they can receive those initiatory energies. And then next thing you know, they find themselves going through some deep level initiation. And then I become the guide. I become one of their guides, if you will. So this is what's been taking place. It's one of my new favorite things to do in regards to the services that I offer. So if you're interested in any of that, it's in that second link below. We'll leave it there. Now, also within that same second link below, you have an option to book a tarot card reading with me. And this tarot card reading is going to be different than any other tarot card reading that you've ever received before. Trust me. And the reason why is because I understand the Kabbalistic tree way more than the average person. So what I can do is I can literally pinpoint exactly where you are on that Kabbalistic tree. I can tell you what you're feeling, experiencing, and going through in the present moment, and then what to expect moving into your near and your long-term future, all based on your positioning on that Kabbalistic tree itself. Okay? So once again, if that's something you're interested in, check it out, second link below. Now we're going to move into the third link below, and this is where you can become a YouTube member. So as you're becoming a YouTube member, you are gaining access to a multitude of different benefits, but most importantly, you are getting access to what is called the Psychic Warfare Emoji Program. So what this is a sequence of emojis that I've designed myself that are based on real occult principles, and you can use them in a certain configuration, link in the name of a target, hit enter, and it actually causes psychic effects to the target of your choice. It's the most simple form of utilizing psychic warfare through the internet platform. There are well over 2,000 posts where people have already used it, and there are even people in this moment that are taking advantage of it. So if this is something that interests you, you can take advantage of it too. You click that third link below, you join, become a YouTube member, and then you'll have access. So with that being said, this is where it's going to come to its finalization. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.